What happens if you actually divide by 0? Have you ever tried it? Everyone says you can't divide by 0, but let's actually try dividing by 0 and see what happens. For instance, let's take 5 and divide by 0. Let's do long division. How many times does 0 go into 5? I don't know. How about 7 times? 7 times 0 is 0, and we subtract that from 5 and we have 5 left over. Okay, how many times does 0 go into 5? Well, we tried 7. How about this time we try 9? 9 times 0 equals 0. We subtract it from 5 and we have 5 left over. Well, let's keep going. How many times does 0 go into 5? Well, let's try 531 times. 531 times 0 equals 0. We subtract it, and well, we have 5 left over again. Well, you see, this doesn't really work. No matter how long we keep on going, we'll always have 5 left over. That makes sense because if we have 5 candy bars that we try to distribute evenly among 0 people, how do we do that? Well, if we have 0 people to give the candy bars to, we'll always have 5 left over. Let's give another reason why we can't divide by 0. To do that, we have to first answer the question, what does division even mean? So let's do an example. What does it mean for 30 divided by 10 to equal 3? It means 30 equals 3 times 10. Let's do another example. What does 8 divided by 4 equal 2 mean? It means 8 equals 2 times 4. Okay, so what would 5 divided by 0 equals some number mean if it meant anything at all? It would mean 5 equals some number times 0. But does that make any sense? Well, what does 0 times any number equal? It equals 0, so we can't get 5. Okay, let's do one final reason why we can't divide by 0. It boils down to a simple fact. Division is the opposite of multiplication. For instance, dividing by 10 is the opposite of multiplying by 10. Similarly, dividing by 2 is the opposite of multiplying by 2. Let's do an example starting with multiplying by 10. So if you begin with the number 3 and multiply by 10, what do you get? Well, you get 30. So let's take 30 and divide by 10. What you end up with is 3, the number that we began with. We started with 3 and multiplying by 10 gave us 30. And so then when we take that and divide by 10, we're back where we started, 3. Let's do an example. Start with 4. If we divide by 2, we get 2. And if we multiply by 2, we're back to 4. So dividing by 2 is the opposite of multiplying by 2. So dividing by 0, if it made any sense at all, has to be the opposite. Dividing by 0, if it made any sense at all, has to be the opposite of what? Of multiplying by 0. If division by 0 makes any sense at all, it has to be the opposite of multiplying by 0. So let's check that. Let's start with 3 and multiply by 0. Well, we get 0. So let's take 0 and divide by 0. Since division is the opposite of multiplication, we should end up with where we started, 3. Okay, but what if we started with 4 instead? When we multiply 4 by 0, we also get 0. So when we take 0 and divide by 0, since that's the opposite of multiplying, we should end up where we started, 4. Does this make any sense at all? Earlier, we said 0 divided by 0 equals 3, but now we said 0 divided by 0 equals 4. So 0 divided by 0 equals 3, and it also equals 4. Does this make any sense at all? No, it doesn't. So that's another reason why we cannot divide by 0. If you liked these explanations, you should check out a book I wrote, Understand Math, Reasons for the Rules. In it, I go over many of the rules people learn in middle school and high school, and I explain why the rules are what they are. Most of the rules of math aren't arbitrary at all. I have a website for the book that contains a free sample. If you'd like a free sample of the book, you should check out my website, Understand Math, Reasons for the Rules. A few other questions I answer in the book are, what is a variable? Why is 2 to the 0 equal 1? Or what if you have negative 1 as an exponent? Why is 2 to the negative 1 equal 1/2? I answer these questions and many more in my book. I plan on making a video that also answers these questions, so you should check out any other videos I make. Another question I answer in the book is, why does the square root of 10 equal 10 to the 1/2? Why is taking the square root the same as having an exponent of 1/2? If you'd like to know why, check out my book, Understand Math, Reasons for the Rules. You can also check out my website. Thanks for watching.